The Flash is finally here. Let's check it out. I'll see you on the other side. Well, welcome again everyone. The film's just finished. And just to reiterate, this will be a spoiler review. So if you don't want to be spoiled, either don't worry about it or come back after you've seen the film. This stars a lot of people and a lot of cameos, as you've no doubt probably heard already. It's a multiverse film, so they've got all sorts of actors and images of people cropping up in different timelines to make it all doubly confusing. So full disclosure, I paid to see this film with my own money. I didn't go to any of those incomplete pre-screenings that I've seen a lot of reviews for, and it just seems like a waste of time. They're not reviewing the full film and they don't know a lot of the endings of the various threads presented here because they were deleted. The final polish and the last edits of a film can really make or break it. So not for me, I can only see a finished film. I'm now in the Picture House Cafe, so please excuse any ambient noises I may be picking up. Okay, so where do we start? You see, it's like watching Back to the Future all over again, where it's intentionally convoluted. I mean, that's the whole point. You go back in time to alter something to prevent something in the future from happening. Got it? So, are we following everyone? It is confusing, but it's presented here in a really entertaining way with lots of pretty imagery to represent the turning back of time, the speed force running, the almost encyclopedic presentation of options, quite interestingly portrayed in that way. So we've got the basic story here where Barry Allen's mother is mysteriously killed. Never really established how. Barry Allen has to go back in time because he's found the ability to do so, because when you go back in time to stop one thing, another thing pops up instead. So really what you've got here is that you're having to keep going back in time, changing each little piece as it happens, hoping for a better outcome, which of course never happens. Some things are inevitable, and I think that's what this film is trying to say. And there's some real touching scenes here, and it's not like the film is lecturing you to do the right thing. It's just telling you to, watch the dangers of trying to affect other things happening that are outside of your control. So we've got Barry here repeatedly going back in time, but just can't seem to find the answer, just can't stop the inevitable. And I found that part really enjoyable. There's a nice message there, and I have to say some great acting by Ezra Miller. I know he's got some personal problems and there's been plenty of news coverage about that, and hopefully he's over those now and he's getting the help he obviously needs. And they did put one or two little gags about mental health in there and how he's lacking. I thought that was quite a funny touch. So although there was certain points of the film where not really following, but then it tells you that this is intentionally confusing. You're not supposed to try and affect what is inevitable. Not only are you unable to do that, but as I said before, it's inevitable. Not even superhumans or gods can affect the future sometimes. So in a roundabout way, they're telling that message and actually covering that in the movie with its many storylines, or spaghetti, as Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne put it. He demonstrated how timelines get affected with those spaghetti sticks, and how affecting one thing can separate or put a fork in that timeline. I mean, you can make yourself go crazy trying to comprehend this, but it's told in a really interesting way. As I said, Ezra Miller was fantastic in his portrayal and understanding of this, quite frankly, a stupid storyline that's really convoluted intentionally. And also Michael Keaton was fantastic as well. So we're along for this journey, and I was quite happy with it, and I think everyone I was in the cinema with was happy with it as well. And just to touch on Michael Keaton, I think he was Batman here with more screen time than he was in Batman Returns. And it was great to see him again. He looks fantastic in the suit. You know, however old he is now, he looked amazing. And this is almost like the Batman 3 that never was. And it was so enjoyable to see him again, and it was almost lifted almost from the Tim Burton timeline. You know, if you cross that with the Snyderverse, we get this. And it was fantastic. And Supergirl, played by Sacha Calle, fantastic. And I like that the film kind of told us the reason why there's certain different actors playing the same roles. Like we've got multiple super Kryptonians, and we've got multiple Batmans and multiple Supermans as well. It's because you're manipulating timelines. So that's one way of explaining it. It's almost as if this film is deeper than you expected it to be. And I never thought this film was really lecturing you or anything like that. Some films nowadays, they like to lecture you, like, you know, you've got to treat certain other people a certain way, or you've got to have every type of colour and creed, and you know, and you've got to be accepting of those people no matter what. Rubbish. If a certain actor is correct for the role, then cast the actor regardless of what colour or language or, you know, look they have. It doesn't matter as long as they're right for the role, not to make a point. The film industry is in no position to lecture anyone, and I'm glad The Flash didn't do that. That's all I wanted to say on that. So again, everyone in this movie was fantastic. Michael Shannon, he may have been phoning it in, but he's doing it in a way which is necessary. Like, you're very stoic and, you know, blunt speaking. I mean, it works. Michael Keaton, fantastic. Ben Affleck, brilliant. It was so good to see him again. I loved his Batman, and I really do wish he'll maybe one day get his solo Batman film. Who knows? And I thought his chat with Barry Allen, you know, in the first portion of the film, carried a lot of weight. He had that option of whether he could allow Barry to bring his own parents back. And that's the whole point of Batman, isn't it? That's what made him who he is. And of course, he turns it down, because he wouldn't be Batman and he wouldn't be the man he is. It's best not to affect the future. You don't know what else would spawn, you know, from that decision. Brilliantly played by Ben Affleck. So while I've covered a lot of the good points of this film, let's just touch on the few negatives. There is a somewhat digital look to the film at certain points, notably in the Time Force scenes, where it does look all very much CGI people. It doesn't look real, and I'm wondering whether they intended it to look real or to look like representations of past characters. And you know, you've got cameos here of actors that are sadly no longer with us. And I've seen there's been a few comments online already today. I don't think that's an issue at all. The family estates presumably allow the likeness of a certain deceased actor to be reused in film. And I think if it's necessary for the story, then why not? I mean, they said the same thing when Rogue One was released and they had Peter Cushing's likeness. I think we're going to keep hearing this as digital technology enables us to recreate an actor's role from the past rather than recasting them. And as I said, it didn't really look real. It just looked like almost video game-like, and almost like it was an intentional CG image. And I'm thinking, should they have finished it off, you know, just to at least make it look real? Maybe, maybe not. So that took me out of it slightly. And also, by having an overly digital-looking image, there was again some unnatural camera movements. And I've often mentioned that on this channel in the past with a lot of previous films I've done, where you can tell that an image is a lot of blue screen images at once and lots of characters, and the camera zooms in between them. All it does is just reinforce that it's a fake digital image. And if the camera movements are unnaturally fluid, then that also takes me out of the movie. Just keep the camera steady as if you were actually filming it for real. Why have this scene looking different to other scenes in the same movie? So what else was there? Perhaps one or two scenes went on for a bit too long. The first heroic presentation of the Flash saving all the babies falling out of the hospital, I think that scene went on for too long, and you've got the baby in the microwave and the wrap that he took out to try and eat everything. I think it went on for a little bit too long for me. I think you're telling the right message if you just collect all the babies on the gurney, and then that's the message there, isn't it? You don't have to see the dog and then see the baby in the microwave, and it just went on for too long. I'm sure it was a good few minutes, and it didn't really need to be. So maybe overall there needed to be some little trims here and there, but not any of Michael Keaton's stuff, because I think every shot of him looked amazing. He's got a new Batwing here, which looks fantastic. It looked quite futuristic, the way it hovers. I think brilliant. We didn't see any of the Batmobile, I noticed, and I was looking forward to that. Almost an anticlimax tease, wasn't it, just to see it sitting there ready to go. And just when you thought you were going to see him at the end, when he goes to meet up with Bruce Wayne outside the courthouse, you're wondering whether it's Keaton Bruce Wayne or Affleck Bruce Wayne. And of course it's neither, it's you-know-who. So he hasn't quite come back to the timeline he intended to, did he? There's still a little change, because in the original Burton verse it went from Keaton to, by way of Val Kilmer, to George Clooney. It's a slightly altered timeline. Yeah, let's not make ourselves go too mad trying to comprehend all this. Okay, let's give it a score. I have to give it 4.5. I wasn't the only one happy with this. The cinema I went to see it in today looked fully invested, and no one left at the end. Everyone wanted to see the post-credit sequence. So let's finish off by predicting whether there's going to be a sequel. I'd like there to be, but I have to be honest with you guys, I don't think there will be, because in some respects I think this film was wound up quite nicely, just enough. But I'd love to see a sequel. The possibilities are limitless now. With the multiple timelines, we could always get the evil Flash back to, present himself. And it's so easily done now, isn't it? We've already established that this isn't quite the timeline reset as he thought it was, with George Clooney's appearance. So, what an enjoyable film. And yeah, let's have a sequel to this, please. And that's my review of The Flash. Feel free to let me know in the comments below if you wildly disagreed or agreed with me. Did you enjoy this film like I did? Does it deserve a sequel? I, for one, I've got my fingers crossed. Thanks for joining me again. It was great speaking to you. All the best and take care.